and welcome back to another edition of Q&A for parents and for educators. The purpose of this Q&A is to empower all with resources and strategies and skills and tips and tricks to help students succeed. There will always be a question from you, the viewer. You can post your questions below. The link is below in the comment section. And I say, let's go ahead and get started. All right. This week's question comes from Dallas, Texas, D-Town. All right, D-Town, here we go. Here's the question. I am a first-year teacher, and I want to do student centers in my class, but I don't know where to start. So help. All right, so people call them centers. Other people call them stations. Kind of depends on your flavor. There's no single right way to approach the centers and these stations. Different communities have different areas which have different resources and different classrooms and different computers, different schedules, and just other unique needs. So there's no one right way to approach centers. Before you approach your centers, though, you got to ask questions. Ask yourself, do some reflection. Why am I doing these centers? What's the learning goal of these centers? How many students will be in my classroom for these centers? How many centers will I have? What is the age of my children? And what is the expectations during these centers? Are they too loud? Are they too quiet? Are they supposed to speak? Are they going to do group work? Is it independent? What do you consider an appropriate noise level for my centers? What's the expectation of these centers? You got to ask yourself all these questions before you get started. Traditionally in centers, there's about 3 to 6 areas or stations. And in those 3 to 6 areas of stations, they work independently or work through group. Kind of depends on the teacher and their voice and choice. Normally in those same centers, they have a teacher area. And the teacher area is like an instructional area where the teacher can pull out small groups and do some instruction, some small group instruction, or one-on-one instruction. There are tons of subjects that you could use with these centers. The early childhood ones, first grade type of classrooms, I've seen everything from art, math, reading, literacy, writing, science. I've also seen play. Play is very important, like listening centers, computers, the sensory table, Play-Doh, blocks, quiet toys. Keyword quiet there. Puzzles, puppets, you name them, I've seen them. We've seen them. They work there, our centers. Or if you wanted to do it a little differently and have like just math centers in the afternoon or literacy centers in the morning. Inside of your math centers, it could be a single topic where you could do, for example, just place value, the ones, tens, and hundreds, 3-digit addition, time, time to the nearest quarter or time to the nearest half, teacher table. You could do technology where they get on the technology and do something enriching or fun. I've also seen games, activities. If it's from a secondary class, 6th grade up or even upper elementary, I've seen some different things there where it was igneous versus sedimentary versus metamorphic time and rocks. And so you could have those different centers just within that. Normally it's a rotational type of thing. So they spend X amount of moments and minutes at this table. At the end of the buzzer or the clock, they rotate and then they rotate. My suggestion to you is when you do this, place your centers near each other. So your kids won't have to go all the way across the room from one center to another across the room to the other center. Try to put your centers closer together. And then also put a must complete type of sign on those important centers. The ones that you know you want the graded work done and completed, or if they're doing a project, the things that they need to do by that day in order to keep the project on tap. I would start in some way, call it VIP, very important project or something. Do something to identify when you explain to your students, these are the things we need to have completed today or this week. As far as grouping, I've seen student groups where it was ability group. I've seen, where the highs were the oranges and the lows were the reds, or the highs were the Thunder, OKC Thunder, and the lows were the Golden State Warriors. Provide voice and choice. Have your students to create the names of the groups as well. I've seen colors. I've seen colors based on shirts, where the teacher said, okay, all the blue shirts, you, and you are in a group. Or I've seen shoelaces, all the people with wacky shoelace colors, you're going to be in a group this week. Just, you can group them however you want. You just want to ensure that all students get the learning and all students get their appropriate level of learning. Another thing I've seen is where some teachers do something called the open-ended center. And what is that? Open-ended center is when you have different ability groups all in the same group. So you've got a group of highs, lows, mediums, and whatnot. But they all tackle the same assignment, but just at their own different rate. And so that I've seen that where it really works. So imagine you having an assignment, but inside of that group's assignment, you have the one low kid, and that low kid is doing the beginner part of that assignment. It's the exact same assignment, but the beginner part or the intermediate part. I've seen this is because it works comfortable in all their levels. Here's an example. Imagine us doing like a reading group, and every kid has to draw a picture of the main character. After drawing the picture of the main character, then they have to write speech bubbles describing that character. So if it's just a low person, their speech bubble may be something a little different. If it's a high person, perhaps that bubble is a little different as well. Most centers are anywhere between 15 minutes and 40 minutes. Especially as far as the first grade, they probably have been used to centers before with pre-K and kinder. Doing centers and stations and playtime. Once when they get comfortable in the system that you set, I've seen centers go up to an hour, almost an hour and a half. The key thing is modeling. Tell your class what the center is called and model it for them. Here, students, let's go to this center. Here's a Play-Doh center. This is what we should do. Show them where the materials are. Show them where they should go. Show them how to take them out the bag, put it in the bag. Show them how to turn in the paper, not to turn in the paper. Show them and model it. Make it fun, because these are kids. These are elementary. So make it fun. Say, well, should we do this? And then do something weird. They will probably tell you a no. Model how to use the materials. Be very thorough in your modeling. Model how to share the materials. And once again, you can be goofy with it and explain, this is mine. No, it's mine. No, it's mine. Model that thing. Model how to put the materials back, and then model the rules and the expectations. Model how they should speak if they're doing group work and not use the loud voice, or are they allowed to use the loud voice? Model, model, model. Some more suggestions. When starting out, my suggestion to you is maybe have just 2 or 3 centers to start off with. Start off with a very small number because too much voice and choice is overwhelming for the very first time. If you had 18 different centers or even 6 or 7, that just may be too much for the first grade. So start low, start small, start slow. Give them just 1 or 2 centers and then kind of work from there. In those 1, 2, or 3 centers, the very first times, do something fun with them. Make the centers like blocks or the Play-Doh or the puzzles or something like that. Just nothing difficult on their level, so they can kind of get used to how your center is run. So they can get used to your expectations of work. So they can get used to how you should speak to a neighbor or to a partner or to a colleague. Start small, then grow from there. On Fridays, I've seen teachers do it several different ways as far as Fridays. On Fridays, anybody who didn't finish those must-dos, those VIPs, those starred centers, they got to do them on Friday. I've seen other teachers say, well, since it is Friday, Friday is fun day. So we're going to call these Friday fun days. And so instead of doing all academic centers, let's pull out some of the puzzles and maybe only have 1 academic station or center. And all the rest of them are fun. Puzzles, smartboard, interactive whiteboard games there. Quiet toys, puppets, you just kind of name it. It's kind of up to you. This is where the voice and choice really comes in. For secondary students, high school, middle school, I've seen this done for them as well. The key difference in this one for them is they add flex time. They add like some wild card. So they'll have 5 rotations, and maybe one of those 5 rotations, one of them is a wild card rotation. So it actually gives them a time to reflect and to manage themselves. gives them time to provide extra support if they need it, or if they don't need it, a time to push them farther in their work. So let's wrap this thing up. You are the first grade teacher. You want to do centers. The very first thing, discover your why. Why are you doing this in the first place? Second thing, manage. Set it up in a way where you can manage it effectively. Don't start off too big, start small, grow from there. Number 3, provide voice and choice, provide options. Number 4, model like crazy. There's your answer. I really appreciate you asking that. Lots of teachers do that. Lots of teachers want to know about centers. So thank you for your question. Let's keep this conversation going. Down in the comment section, if you have any advice or any additional ideas on how you actually do centers, I would love to hear from you, and so would this teacher. Put them in the comment section below. If you want to submit a question, the link is also available for you. Thank you very much for this time. Tune in next week for our Q&A. Thanks for watching. And for those who are commenting below, I appreciate you all as well. As always, it really does take a village. It still takes a village to raise today's children. So I will see you next week.